What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Scale Your Real Estate, where I bring in my personal mindset coach, Steve Gill. He currently is with the Tony Robbins organization, which if you don't know anything about Tony Robbins, you absolutely should. He's one of the top, he is the number one business strategist and life coach in the world, and his organization literally serves millions. And Steve Gill is one of his top platinum partnership coaches, which means he coaches all the people that are at the highest level, the top 1 performers in the world, because the Platinum Partnership is the highest level of coaching that you can actually get with Tony Robbins. It's, $85,000 a year and up to even be a part of this. And Steve Gill is their top coach for that program, or one of their top coach for that program. He's got 2 times he's been coach of the year. He is a master business results trainer. He was an addictions therapist and expert. That was kind of how he first got his start in this coaching world. He's a professional speaker. He's got a TED Talk you've got to listen to. It's called Don't Let the Bear Catch You. It's a TED Talk with over 700,000 views. Highly recommend you go check that out. This is a beautiful episode that I want to bring. It's really just me talking to my mentor, my coach, my friend, and someone who's really supported me over the last 2.5 years in my business life, helping me achieve the results that I've been able to achieve in business, in life, in my relationship. And what I love about Steve is how the whole life approach that he takes to this. It's not just about getting results. It's about getting results in a sustainable way, because no one wants to just get to the top of the mountain and then find yourself down at the bottom of the mountain the next day or the next week or the next year. We want to do it in a sustainable way. And Steve in this episode talks a lot about that. So enjoy. Please share this with someone who needs this coaching, who needs this mindset, and we can help people together. Thank you and enjoy. Yeah, I was really touched by your work with addicts, your work with addiction, how well you understood it. I really would encourage anybody listening to this, go watch the TED Talk. The TED Talk is called Don't Let the Bear Catch You. Would you mind sharing that story or a brief version of that, and just kind of how that story impacted you at that stage in your life?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, there's probably been a few stages with that journey, with that story, brother. And looking back, I mean, the bear is a metaphor. It's an archetype. It's in everyone's story. The teaching is that sometime during the course of our life, we go through a tunnel. And what is a tunnel? It's dark. It's you're alone, and it's scary, and you're isolated. And that too could be a metaphor. And some of us will go through many tunnels in our life. And the teaching is that at times those breakdowns are a tee up for a breakthrough. And one of my breakdowns and one of my tunnels that I went through, or you can say I grew through, was growing through addictions. And the bear represents what it represented for me was drug addiction and alcoholism. The teaching is that we all have some sort of addiction. And what is an addiction? It's an obsession. It's a distraction from one's life's purpose, or to live a fulfilled life, to have a meaningful life. And so that's what that bear was for me.
Yeah, so you've come a long way from that vision and where you were to 2-time Tony Robbins Coach of the Year, coaching the Platinum Partnership. With, if someone's not familiar with that, that's an $85,000 a year program. I think they even have the Lions now, which is even another level beyond that. But people that are in Tony Robbins' world that are already the best of the best, and you are the top platinum trainer, or one of the top platinum trainers. And so it's really cool to see your journey. I want to kind of explore that a little bit. But I'm curious, when you talk about addictions being anything that distracts you from your life purpose, is it possible, Steve, to be addicted to success, or to work, or to money? Is that a thing?
Sure. And again, you could say that there are healthy addictions, and another way to say addiction is passion. In today's society, we see it as an addiction, as a distraction, though, as a handicap, as a chokehold. and the teaching of Tony Robbins, and he says this, and I know you know this, brother. You're a raving fan of personal development and personal growth, and hence congratulations to you as well with this amazing platform. You're reaching out to thousands and thousands of people and adding massive value. So I applaud you. And I know we've spoke about this at one of the teachings of Tony's, and he says there's two skills that we need to master. One is a science of achievement, which is the ability that success in any area of life leaves clues, to be able to crack the code, to have a blueprint, to have a mentor, to mastermind, to grow your business, to be successful, to hustle, to grind, whatever that looks like in your arena or in your area of life. There's an achievement muscle that we must master. And then he says, though, so if we were to only focus on achievement, that's only the one skill. And the second skill is where all the glory is, where it's an art. And I would say, through coaching thousands and thousands of people, it's an area where a lot of people don't focus on. It's underdeveloped. The muscle hasn't been developed. I would say it was probably developed as a child because there's an innocence in it. There's not an achievement. It's our default position as babies when we were born, and it's the art of fulfillment. It's like, so we were born happy. We were born innocent. We were born joyful. I don't have children. I know you don't have children either, brother, but I know you have, nieces and nephews and kids in your family and in your life.
Yes.
And if you look at a child, they're not saying their achievement. They're not saying like, when's the next meal? What do I got to do tomorrow? What am I going to wear tonight? Right? Like they're in the present. They're in the here and now. And so, yeah, a lot of folks, and especially the ones that would come to Tony Robbins coaching, or the ones that I personally coach through Tony Robbins, they've developed such a massive muscle of achievement. They come to coaching thinking, I want to grow my business. I got to grow my sales funnel. I have to grow my book of business, whatever. I want to, develop more as an entrepreneur. I want to sell my business. I want to acquire whatever it is. It's all achievement. And yes, we give them what they want, but ultimately what they need is to be fulfilled, because that achievement has become an addiction for a lot of folks, bringing it back to your original question, your point, for sure.
But does it take, in your opinion, and in your direct work with people with addictions, and your direct work with people who are in that top 1% of achievers, in the world, doing these big things, doing these crazy things. And even this platform, Steve, is really about helping people achieve financial freedom as fast as they possibly can. So I think my question for you is like, does it take an addict level of focus, using that term, to achieve those big 1% results? If I look at my life, I see a certain addict quality to it that could become dangerous, if I didn't pay attention to my wife or anything else in my life. And it is a healthy addiction, I guess. I'm helping people achieve financial freedom. Sometimes my wife doesn't think of it that way, but does it take that? Does it take that in order to achieve these big things that we say we want to achieve?
I would say yes. And though, let me
what's the and?
Right here, let me clarify. I would say yes, it takes. I mean, listen, not everyone's up top, right? They say it's lonely up top. Why? Because most people will live and die in their comfort zone. Life begins at the edge of your comfort zone, taking a risk. You, my brother, have played big your whole life in business, and you've embraced that fear. You've embraced the uncertainty outside of the 8 to 5 working. And there's nothing wrong with working 8 to 5 job. There's a lot of security and comfort in that. But to be wired to go and be that 1%er, yes, there's an obsession, there's an addiction. So it does take that for sure, because it's not for everyone, and not everyone wants to get up at 5 a.m., 4 a.m., put in the hours, put in the reps. It's not, and there's a sacrifice. Just like anything, my Olympians that I train and coach, they have calluses on their hands, right? And they train for years for what? 4 seconds of glory. That would be that is some sort of an addiction to be. I coach a couple of UFC fighters. The ability to step in a cage with someone who's across from you in the cage, and it's a cage. It's not. They call it a cage. And that person, your opponent's sole purpose is to take you down at any cost, and then they lock the cage.
Damn.
You would have to be a little bit wired of an addict mind to have that singular focus to be able to get the results you want. Now, there's an end. I would say to keep your level of success, you must enjoy the journey. That's the fulfillment piece, because success without fulfillment is failure. Another way to say that, achievement without happiness, achievement without fulfillment is failure. So to keep your level of success, to keep your level of achievement, so it's sustainable long-term, because in business, you know this, acquiring and selling and growing businesses, and I've been honored to walk with you on this journey, brother. You've reinvented yourself, your brand, and you keep doing it. And we're only scratching the surface. It's a long game. You got to enjoy the journey. Or I've seen so many people, they blow it up. We know the celebrities. They're child prodigies of a craft and of a skill. They are the 1%. They were born with the 1% skill. They've harnessed it and they become the peak. They become world champions. And what do? They mess it up. They do a thing called self-sabotage. Why is that? Why? Because they don't enjoy it. They get burnt out. The blessing becomes a curse if you don't enjoy the journey. And it hurts me. It hurts me that people work so hard and they sacrifice and they discipline to achieve a level of success, only to throw a wrench in it, or to take themselves down and whatever that, in whatever arena, whatever vehicle that is. But ultimately, it's because they don't have that level of fulfillment, and maybe it's because they don't think they're worthy of it. That's the other piece. So when you're fulfilled, it's like, I am worthy of this success. I am worthy of this achievement. Yes, I deserve it. The unconscious, subconscious is reveling in it. It's marveling in it, and it wants more of it. Tony says the two greatest fears that we have is, one, that we're not good enough. What does that mean? I'm not good enough. I'm not worthy to be on this podcast for thousands of people. That's the number one fear across the board. Male, female, doesn't matter the color of your skin, how much money you have, is I am not, at some level, not good enough. And the second greatest fear is because I'm not good enough, therefore I won't be loved.
Powerful.
And success doesn't buy that. You can't buy that, right? So that's where the teaching of the happiness and this fulfillment, it's an inside job. It doesn't go on sale.
Wow. Mm-hmm. And this is something, I mean, thank you for mentioning our work together. That was something I'll put in the intro as well. But I was looking back, it's been since I first opened our note I started taking notes, it's been 2.5 years.
Wow.
Is what it seems like I went really fast. And you're always so good. Every coaching session you and I have, we start with what's great. It could have been the shittiest week ever, and you're asking me, share some wins, right? Let's lock in the fulfillment aspect of what's going well in your life. And that's such a powerful question, man. That does juice me. So I want to get your opinion on, let's say someone is in this game or in this grind where they are achieving. And I know I have people listening to this podcast that they're in the 1%, or they're headed there, or they have that focus and they have that, as you would call it, that addict level, and they don't have a lot of the fulfillment. And so what are some practical steps that someone can take to start to bridge that gap from I'm successful, and hell, I know I've been here in my life where it's like, I feel like I'm making more money than I've ever made in my life before, but I'm not as happy as I want to be in my life. What are some practical steps someone can take to start to bridge that gap, to work on that second skill, that art of fulfillment?
Great question. Yeah. And I would say, I'm going to simplify it. I'm going to level the playing field and say that everyone's already doing it. And there's a piece here, and if you're listening to this, I know you are, I encourage you to write this down. It's rituals plus routine equal peak performance. I'll repeat that. Rituals plus routines equal peak performance. And if you're the 1%er, like Sam mentioned, or you're on your way to be the 1%er, world class, call yourself a world champion, you already have rituals. In business, business is a system, and it's being consistent with the system of rituals. So in your personal life, to be fulfilled, it too is a system of rituals. Now, through my coaching and training, thousands and thousands of people over many, many years, is that everyone already has rituals, personal rituals. The difference is people don't give it a meaning. I'll give you an example. So I wake up in the morning. I have a big couple of jugs of room temperature water. It's alkaline water from this, nothing fancy, but it's alkaline water. That's all I had to say. Room temperature. First thing I do in the morning is I pour a big tumbler of water and I squeeze some lemon in it. Now, a person would say, well, that's just water with lemon. Great. Here's the thing. The meaning I give that, it's the meaning that gives me the purpose that I'm saying to my unconscious or other than conscious mind, my subconscious mind, that this water, I'm blessing it. It's hydrating me. It's increasing my alkaline, my pH level. And therefore it's the meaning I give it. And I'm telling myself that's a ritual. Same thing as when I get up, I meditate for 5-10 minutes. I do a daily reading. I pray. Tony, we do this thing where we prime ourselves in the morning. We turn on the pump. We activate the engine. We prime. We get grateful. We put our hand on our heart. We breathe. Focus on 3 things I'm grateful for. What do I need to focus on today? These are rituals that get me into a state of certainty and ultimately fulfillment. And it's the same thing in the evening. I go through a set of rituals to relax my nervous system, to calm down, to lower my cortisol, my adrenaline, to achieve that homeostasis so I can have a restful, peaceful sleep. Because the teaching is the morning routine and the evening routine are the bookends to create magic in the day. So to live a life of fulfillment comes from being conscious of what are the rituals that you do to achieve that happiness, to get into that, what Tony would call a beautiful state of being. Because yes, that would be our default position, but we don't consciously work on that. What's on my calendar? All my meetings, all my appointments, my emails, my phone calls, my follow-ups. I don't have anything happiness on there. Right? Like, where is the fulfillment? Show me where you schedule fulfillment. We don't. If you're the 1%er, you do your business with your eyes closed. And we need to reverse that. Like, you're already doing that, but what are you doing to build that muscle of fulfillment and happiness? And you got to be conscious of it.
Wow.
You almost like, I love what Warren Buffett, right? One of his teachings, he gets asked quite a bit from reporters, right? What's the number one investment? People would ask him. What's the number one investment, Mr. Buffett, that you've done or you've made earnings or return on investment? What does he say time and time again?
I don't know. I haven't heard the answer.
He says the number one investment Warren Buffett has made, he says the number one investment I've made is investment in myself. That's fulfillment.
Wow. So you would even go so far as to say fulfillment needs to be scheduled.
Yeah.
It needs to be on there. It needs to be in your calendar. Same thing as all the other things that give you the science of achievement part that you're creating in your life.
Sure. And I mean, like now, if you look at it, I mean, that's why we have these apps and these notifications that, I mean, look at how we're wired. We want everything yesterday, right? Like social media, we're moving so fast with technology and AI. We can't even keep up. That's why we have these things that there's a notification or these apps that what happened? They pop up and what does the app tell you? The app tells you to what? Breathe. The app says drink water, get up and stretch, right? It's basically a schedule. We have to have a system to remind us that, wow, I got to put the oxygen mask on myself, not achievement, fulfillment.
Yeah, and I noticed you mentioned, something that's been so powerful in my life, and you've supported me with this with rituals. I remember some of our first work that we did together, and before this episode, I was scrolling through my notes on of our coaching sessions, and some of the first work you did with me was on creating rituals around when I say affirmations and the identity and the vision that I create for myself for the future. And I mean, I listed with you, I think I created like 50 or 60 new ones around every company. You had me go through every company that I was leading at the time and, write these statements that were, powerful and positive and kind of visionary on what I was projecting into the future was going to come out of this business. And I remember that work being really powerful for me because then when I would go through a tough time in that business, these statements would start to kind of pop back up in my head. And so how important is, so I get that the rituals and routines, I wrote, that's rituals and routines important. How important is, maybe even someone listening to this, I'm just putting myself in their shoes. They want to achieve financial freedom and they just feel like something's holding them back, maybe from buying the house or taking action or enrolling in a course or getting mindset coaching or whatever it is. Like there's just something there that they're not taking that next step. how important is identity? How important is vision to really stepping into that future on who someone could be or becoming a 1%er?
It's everything. I mean, the simplicity of it is that you get your identity, period. There's nothing else. You get your identity.
You get your identity, meaning in life,
period. Like, you get what you believe. You get what you believe in. And again, like, it hurts me when I see people that work so hard and they hustle, they grind, they work so hard. What does that mean? Like, they're putting in the mechanics, they're doing the heavy lifting, they're sacrifice, they're getting up early, their schedule's rocking and they're rocking and rolling, but they don't believe in themselves.
The routines and rituals are in place, but like something's still not clicking.
100%. They're doing the heavy lifting, they're out there knocking doors and doing all that, but they don't believe in themselves. Like at some point, like, stop the insanity, stop the sadness, and check in is, am I worthy? Do I believe that this outcome, am I worthy of this result and outcome? And do I believe that I will achieve this result or outcome? Henry Ford, one of his teachings is, whether you believe you can or you can't, you're absolutely right. And so then when we started working together in those early days, it was those incantations, right? Most people know what affirmations, where you got to affirm to yourself that, yes, I got this. Yes, I got this. Yes, I'm doing it. Yes, whatever that is. Yes is probably the most powerful statement that there is. Is that, yes, we got this. This is happening. I'm, all in. And so Tony would say, in success is 80% mindset, 90% mindset. Psychology is what are your beliefs? 20% is the hustle. 20% is the mechanics. Like, learning the book. If you're learning a book or you're listening to a podcast, or you're listening to this podcast, whatever the teaching that we're sharing, the wisdom, whatever it is, the strategy, do you believe that will work for you? And I've seen people go through so many courses and seminars. They're in there, they're doing the heavy lifting, they're in the front, they're taking notes, but somewhere they think, this will not work for me. I can't do this. And they're absolutely right.
And incantation, and what you teach, what Tony teaches, what you teach is that incantations are the way to build that belief back in yourself through this repetition in your mind. But then you teach it different, right? There's like affirmations, incantations. Incantations are with emotion, with power, with state, as you call it. Do I have that right? Can you expound on that a little bit?
Yeah. Absolutely. You nailed that. Actually, you can teach me on that.
Yeah. Well, one of the things you said in your TED Talk, which was so powerful, again, and I just strongly recommend everyone go listen to that, was that something about an addict is like the hardest thing about being an addict is everyone's like, you need to pull yourself out of this. You need to pull yourself out of this. But like, an addict doesn't have a belief they can pull out of it. They don't have the self-esteem to pull themselves out of it. And I would, not to that extreme, but I would say someone in our courses, someone you're coaching, someone I'm coaching, that just, there's that thing that's not clicking. They're one step forward and two step backs kind of thing, or two steps forward, one step back. It's like, maybe they don't, how do they build that self-esteem if it's not there? I mean, how would you coach addicts on that?
Yeah,
if it's not there for them and you're like, come on, do it. And they're just like, no.
Yeah. I mean, listen, again, that mindset of that addict mind, or that obsession, or that distraction, wherever a person has an area of suffering, I'll use someone that is in some sort of pain with an addiction. It's called learned helplessness. In that they're looking, they're attempting, they're trying to take action from a weak state. They're trying to take action from a place of, I am not worthy. They're trying to take action from a place of focusing on a loss, focusing on where they failed, focusing on how they're a loser, they're a junkie, they're not, like, they don't deserve this, they're not worthy of it, and they're trying to take the action. And guess what? No kidding, they don't get a result. Because it's half measures. They're 1 foot in, 1 foot out. Like, they haven't convinced themselves of it. And then what happens? It's that prophecy, that self-fulfilling prophecy, where it's like, Well, yeah, then they mess it up. They don't sign the deal. They don't get the contract. And this happens in every area or arena in life. Doesn't matter who you are, where you are on the scale of success is. And then what do? Then you don't get your result. You don't meet your outcome. You don't achieve your goal. And you say, yeah, guess what? I knew it. I knew that was going to happen. Well, how did you know it was going to happen? Well, you knew it was going to happen because you said it was not going to happen. And we do this so fast, unconsciously. I don't know if I shared this story with you before. In that, I remember I was chatting with a neighbor. And we're just having a quick conversation. And I think he was washing his car or something like that. He was doing something outside with a pressure washer or something. And his wife comes running down the stairs, right? And I'm just watching the whole physiology, the body. She's rushing, right? She's rushing, and she's got 2 kids, right? And she's like pretty much dragging them, right? Because she's late, right? And they're little kids, right? And she's like, and she's getting the car and putting stuff in the car, and I'm like having this conversation with the neighbor, and I'm watching her and her energy and stuff like this. She's like in a panic. And meanwhile, she's incanting, we're going to be late. We're going to be late. Get in the car. We're never going to make it. We're not going to make it.
I never do this, Steve. To my wife. I'm glad she's not home today.
Right. And think of how that shows up when we're teeing up with a prospect. We're going to close a deal. We're showing a house. Right? Oh, no one's going to show up today. This weather sucks, or this weather is too nice. No one's going to come for this showing, or we're not going to get any bites on this lead. What the madness? What insanity are we speaking? I love one of the things about Bruce Lee, and if you study Bruce Lee, I've studied Bruce Lee, and Tony's a big fan of Bruce Lee. And he's a philosopher. He's a poet. I know you. And look who I'm talking about, Bruce Lee, with the martial artist right here in front of me. Sam, world champ, legend. But, Bruce Lee would say, words. That's why when we write specifically, because it's more powerful, like the thought that we write, we say, he said, it's called, the reason we call it spelling is because it's a spell. It becomes a trance. You can put yourself in such a trance, and that's what an incantation is. It's saying, listen, we're incanting all the time. We are always like the person we have the most conversation with is ourselves.
So it doesn't even have to be out loud. It could just be in our heads.
100%. Listen, I don't need to be diagnosed as a schizophrenic. I already have that. Because some of those thoughts, we all have thoughts, 70 to 90,000 automatic thoughts a day. Some of those thoughts for me are amped up, where sometimes I'm like, I'm hearing voices. Right. And
I think we can relate.
Conversations with self. And so what Tony does, the teaching is, well, let's consciously reprogram ourselves or put the programming in, and let's incant. Change the track, change the tune, change the station, and incant what you do want to happen. Incant what you do. And so there's an affirmation, which is, affirmations are great. And by the way, not a lot of people even do. I think majority of the world, they don't even do affirmations. But affirmation is like, hey, I'm good, I'm worth it, I got it. Listen, it's a good start. It's a great start. The challenge with an affirmation, you're still in your resonant memory. What that means, like Sam, you mentioned, there's no active emotion. You're not actively engaging your physiology. You're not actively engaging your nervous system. Your heart doesn't skip a beat with an affirmation because you're kind of still in your head. But when you do an incantation, you take that word, you take that statement, and you put your whole body into it. Right. So now you're actively engaging your physiology. You're saying it with intensity. And it could be just putting your hand on your heart and saying, I love you. Thank you. I'm sorry. Please forgive me. I love you so much. It doesn't have to be this warrior chant, but going on the warriors, it's been, for centuries, warriors, soldiers were doing these mantras. They were doing incantations, and you've seen it in the films, The Last of the Mohicans, Braveheart. You've seen it in right where they step Gladiator. They step onto the battlefield. Well, they're not incanting that they're going to die.
Those are powerful, positive
Those are
incantations.
right. They're incanting. Like same thing with our warriors, modern day warriors that step onto the battlefield. My UFC fighters, my Olympians, my athletes, they got that 1% mindset, and their belief. Part of it's one of the tools, probably the most powerful tool to shift that identity that you're speaking about for them to have that belief. An incantation is a great way to put your whole body into an experience that there's a oneness, that there's an alignment, that I got this and it's happening. There's no doubt. I have zero reservation. I'm all in. I'm doing the actions and the legwork, but now my belief is there as well. Very powerful.
What do you see when someone starts? Yeah, it's so powerful. And I think that it's easy for people to write this stuff off as woo-woo, or especially in the world I play in when it comes to real estate. Obviously in the Tony Robbins world, we're doing this stuff. We're putting ourselves in state. We're saying these affirmations, these incantations. But where does someone start who has never had any experience to this? Like, what is literally step one? And I'm talking like, there's real estate investors listening here, right? Which real estate investing can be a very brainy type of an analytical process. I want to put all these numbers in, and I could just think someone saying right now, like, I get this, Steve, that's cool, but ultimately it's a numbers game and I got to just put so many offers in and da-da-da-da-da. So is that true? Can it help? Can this type of stuff, how does it affect an analytical game like real estate investing? A. And then B, like if someone does understand it and really get what you're saying, where's step one? What do they start with?
Absolutely. Great questions. And for your first question, it definitely serves in the real estate game. It serves in any game because, and numbers do matter. And having a strategy, I know I kicked it up a little bit, but listen, like it's still 20% of success. Like you can't just will yourself, like you can't just motivate yourself to great results. You got to have a strategy, right? I love what Tony says. You can't be running east with a lot of passion and motivation looking for a sunset.
Right. It's not coming anytime soon.
It's not coming anytime soon, brother. You got the wrong strategy. You're going the wrong way.
Right.
So you got to have a great strategy. Number one, absolutely. And then two is like, what's your belief? What's your like what's your belief? Is there alignment? How much of it are you obsessed? Are you convinced? And when I say belief, convinced, do you see it as done? Do you see it as effortless? Do you see yourself manifesting it like it's already happened? You're celebrating. In psychology, they say act as if you've already crushed it, you closed the deal, you're on the leaderboard, it's done, it's a done deal. So yes, the strategy and then the belief. And then where does step one, your second question, where does someone start? Well, I would say flip it. Make a list of what's preventing you. What's that stinking thinking? What's that monkey mind, that fight or flight, that survival? What are your disempowering thoughts or your beliefs? Because Tony says the number one chokehold in business is your own mindset. What in your mindset is preventing you from blowing it up? Now, you might say nothing. I challenge you as an A player, as a 1%, you definitely have some limiting beliefs. Because you're conscious of it. You're I love it when I notice fear. When I notice fear, because I know I'm outside of my comfort zone. But someone that's working at 8 to 5, you think they have fear? They don't have fear because they're meeting all their needs within certainty. The bigger you play, the bigger the stake, the bigger the fear. Embrace it, dance with it, and make a short list of what are some of your limiting beliefs, what are some of your fears, and then flip it around and say, okay, well, if I have fear, I need faith. Or, if I have fear, I need courage, or I need more passion, or I need energy, or I have energy, I have passion, I have faith. And what do you need more of? I would say, what's the emotion or the emotions that you feel that are going to drive you and fuel you for you to achieve your result, right? And that's a great place to start with an incantation and put I am in the front of it. And the teaching is when you put I am, those two words in front of anything in the English speaking language, it's done. It's the most powerful statement there is. You know, in an incantation, sometimes I have these clients that create these big mission or, you know, mission statements, vision statements, and it's not about that. It's a short, powerful statement like a punch. You can say it, you repeat it over. It's like going to the gym and building that muscle. Like, you rep it out. You don't just pick up that dumbbell and do it one time and put it back and get the muscle. You rep it over, and the same thing with an incantation. You put yourself in a trance. And there is no perfect incantation or mantra. The teaching is perfection is the enemy of execution. Keep it simple. The idea is you're inputting, you're putting something in, and you're deleting that monkey mind. You're deleting that incantation that you have going on that doesn't serve, because we all have one. Under fear, under pressure, the inside comes out. You want to eliminate that. The best way to eliminate it is replace it. So now you're consciously replacing that monkey mind, that thing that was holding you back, for total fulfillment, total success.
So literally list. Yeah. So list, what I hear you saying is, okay, I want to try to figure out what's holding me back from making this deal, from taking this step, from diving into this course that would teach me about real estate or something like that, or putting the money on the line. Okay, list out all the things that you believe are holding you back, or what's coming up, what's getting hung up, and create an antidote, create an affirmation out of an antidote to that thing, or an incantation, to use a more powerful word, where you're using your whole body. Yeah,
right. And you don't want to do it from a passive state. Yes. Tony says you don't want to do it from a super chill. You're relaxed. The best time, I mean, the greatest times to do any of this work around incantations would be when you're in a peak state, maybe after a walk or a run or after a workout. When you're rested, you recharge, put on your headphones, put on your theme song, get yourself in such a great state.
Yeah.
Grab a pen and paper, say a few statements, play around with the words, say it out loud a few times, really feel it, feel that energy, and then condition it, lock it in, repeat it, and be consistent with it.
So powerful, man. You just a couple of, act as if. I'm teaching a real estate course this week, and I was just kind of, we had 615 people register for this real estate course. We had about 20%. It's a free event, so we had about 20% show, and then yesterday was pitch day. And all my team was like, "Oh, it's gonna be great. We're gonna make this much money." Da 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 da. And it's funny. I'm curious your take on this. I find myself lowering. So my team's like, "Man, we're going to make this much money." And I immediately find myself wanting to pull them back so as not to be disappointed. Like, I've been disappointed in the past. And so I'm going to take a page. Obviously we work on this regularly, but like, I guess at any level, you still consistently need to put this stuff into practice. And I was just thinking, I'm not acting as if what I want to happen is to happen. I'm actually doing the opposite. I'm literally being like, no, and I'm like, quartering what they're telling me. I'm like, no, let's only expect 25% of that, because then if we go over, we'll be happy. And if we go below, like, there's no way we're going to go below. And I feel like for me, it comes up as like that fear of disappointment.
Right. And notice you said expect. So you want to, and I get it. Listen, you want to manage your expectations, right? I get it. Tony would say, you guys can all write this down, trade your expectations for appreciation, and your life will change. And so I would say, I'm still, hey, listen, man, you're being you're being strategic, right? I know you, brother. You're a strategic thinker. So you're like, hey, let's manage our expectations. But I don't even like the word realistic. Hey, what's a realistic goal? Like, hey, I live in the unrealistic, bro. I've been living my greatest life during COVID. Like we purchased our dream home. We purchased our dream home. Oh. We looked at 47 houses. We purchased our dream home during COVID.
That's awesome, brother.
We've had many great opportunities. I know you have as well.
It's gone up 100% in value since then too, man. This is a real estate podcast. Everybody who bought during COVID, hey, well, that was a risk, right? Because everybody was like, talk about stepping out and having the belief. Like, everybody was like, oh my gosh, is real estate going to crash? Like, is no one going to buy real estate? Here you are. You go buy your dream home. I'm sure you've got equity in it.
I want to be a product of the product. I want to raise my standard. Like, it's called low hanging fruit. Like, it's easy. I love what Dana White says. It's easy to be a savage during these economy times, especially in your business. Why? Because a lot of realtors, the ones that weren't A players, they're checked out, they were passive, so they got other jobs or they retired. So who's left? It's the savages, it's the gladiators, it's the warriors, and it's staying power. and you just got to survive, and then you're thriving, right? Like Tony says, winter doesn't last forever. But one thing I'll say, going back to your point, is instead of having an expectation, call it an intention, right? So you have an intention that we're going to do this much. And what the difference, I'd say one of the key distinctions between an expectation and intention, an expectation is hard and fast, right? There's could be a lot of emotion, like you said, Sam. You don't want to feel left out. But intention is more abundance. It's more manifestation. There's more alignment. There's more fulfillment in having an intention versus an expectation.
The energy around that is a shift for sure.
Yeah.
The intention is to make this much money. There's not as much of a letdown if an intention doesn't happen. I don't know why. That's a powerful language shift.
Right. Yeah. Words make a difference. Words carry, as you know, a vibration and a frequency.
Yeah. So I want to touch on two more things. One is just, okay, what else? We've got identity, we've got beliefs, we've got rituals, we've got people's routines. All of those things can hold someone back from achieving success, right? We're talking achieving that. You know, one of the biggest goals that I coach people on is how do you achieve financial freedom? And so what else have you seen in your coaching of highly successful people, UFC fighters, best business people in the world? What do you see? What else holds people back? What would you say are some other commonalities or things that we need to watch out for or pay attention to or be aware of? Maybe something that's holding them back that they're not even aware of. Are there commonalities in that space other than what we've talked about that can keep someone from achieving their dreams, achieving their goals?
Yeah, I mean, that's beautiful. So number one, we said mindset, right? Your beliefs, your mindset. Number two is like the rituals that you have. The rituals that you have, the teaching of putting the oxygen mask on yourself first. You know, they don't say, you're on an airplane, you hit some turbulence. They don't say grab that oxygen mask and put it on the person next to you or put it on the person behind you or in front of you. Even if you have a baby, they say put it on yourself first. You know, and leaders only can give from what you have inside of yourself, right? You got to have it inside of yourself first to be able to give it back or to give it away. So the teaching of self-care and self-love, putting the oxygen mask on yourself, making sure that you have rituals for that. So number one, belief, rituals for fulfillment. And then number three that we didn't speak about, that I've seen patterns of where people, that prevent people from achieving that level of success that they've worked hard for, is their intimate relationships. You know, and the teaching
that just got specific.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. You're like, okay,
I think we're out of time, Steve. I don't think we can move into this subject right now. Like mindset and incantations and like your spouse. Like, God damn.
That's why you have me, man. That's why you have me. To talk about the real stuff,
No, but that's what I want, man. That's powerful because you see this, and I as soon as you said it, I was like, I had some resistance to it. I'm not gonna lie. I was like, wait, what? And then I was like, I think I know where you're going with this. I've seen it too. Please expand.
Yeah,
like beautiful.
Well, here's the thing: like the intimate area of life, intimate relationship. Again, it's not something that a person would schedule unless you're coaching with me, as you know. Then you schedule a date night with your intimate partner. But isn't that a funny thing?
Writing a reminder to do more of that.
Thank you. Yeah, put that down. Put that down on your calendar, on your schedule. But I remember like years ago, growing up or something, I would hear about this date night thing. I'm like, man, I'm never gonna be in a relationship. I'll never come to that place in my marriage where I'm gonna have to schedule date night. Guess what? Here we are. Because as you grow.
Kids and still scheduling date night. I know you got to do it, man. I'm in the same boat.
Listen, as you grow your businesses and you become the 1%er, you only have so much bandwidth. You only have so much focus. So what I found with the overachievers or the 1%ers is that they do their businesses eyes closed. They get a lot. They get all their needs met. They hustle, like they schedule and they get in state and they go to war and they have fun and they meet their needs and they explode and they get success and recognition and validation. They win awards and they buy more things and stuff like this, and they can do it with their eyes closed. It's play, right? And when it becomes play, you do more of it. And what happens is, Tony would say, then you come home and you got like nothing left. There's no juice at home unless you fed it, and you give your spouse crumbs. You give your spouse crumbs. And Tony would say what needs to happen in a relationship, that's where you go to fuel. That's where you go to give the fuel. It's oxygen. It's heaven when it's working, hell when it's not. So I've seen a lot of 1%ers, business owners, they blow up that area of life in their achievement, but their intimate relationship, it's heaven or hell, it starts to suffer, because if you get what you focus on, right? And if a full person, and people come to me, they come coaching, they have an idea, they're like, hey, I want to focus on business. I give them what they want, but as a world-class coach, I got to meet their need. I got to give them what they need. And most of the time, people do not know what they need, and where they need the most support and help and coaching is in their personal relationships. Because they just don't know the blueprint. Like they just, they don't focus on it. They don't, and it takes two people, right? So then the spouse is he or she's focusing on, their business or the kids or something like this. And it's like, that's another business in itself. But it gets neglected when you're a 1%er, unless you have the teaching and focus and not balance. But when you integrate your energies, you have it scheduled, and a schedule is just a system, but it becomes a way of life. It becomes part of your identity. And you know this, like the most power I've seen you, Sam, like I've seen it where you are the most powerful force is when you have complete alignment, and you know that, okay, my home is a home. It's my castle. It's my kingdom. It's like, it's a place of refuge, and you own the world.
Yeah.
You're unstoppable.
And on the flip side of that, man, I mean, I'm just thinking this as you're saying this, because it's hitting really home with me. I mean, look, the truth is, and you and I have talked about this has not been the easiest season in my relationship, with my wife going through a difficult time. And then like, there is no greater distraction to any part of, to business, to life. There's no, than when that area is really rocky, at least for me. I can't speak for everybody in that. So even just from the standpoint of like, well, what could pull me away from achieving even greater success in business? It's like, it's that area being clunky. If we think about the wheel of life, if that area is at a 2 and all the other areas are at 6s and 7s and 8s, then like we're going to hit hard and fall on our face when we get to that area. Sure. I can relate to that.
Yeah, for sure. And same, like, like when my wife and I, when we're off, and there's been moments and seasons and times when we're off, the last thing I want to do is jump on a coaching call and coach Sam and get you in a peak state, because, I'm not feeling it, right? And I can't fake it, right? You can only get so far faking it, and so it creates a lot of other problems. So I would say, to really own a level of success, to play the long game, have it sustainable, is assuring that you have some great rituals in your intimate relationships that are nurturing and fulfilling and rewarding.
Dude, so good. And such a reminder I needed to hear at this season. Yeah. For me and my relationship. So again, I know we talk about this, but it's like, you can never hear it enough. I'm just like locking it in, taking some notes. Thank you. Yeah, absolutely. It's funny, man. It's as we kind of wrap up, and I want to get your thoughts on one more thing, but it's so interesting because I was in this talk once, and this lady was talking about how you never have to force growth. And I remember kind of like disagreeing with her initially. I was like, what? Like, no, like my whole life is about pushing and going. And she brought out a plant, like a live plant in this talk. And she's like, think about it. Does a plant like force it to grow, or is it just creating the conditions? And in a weird, not in a weird way, in a similar way, I feel like that's what you've just shared with us. It's like, yes, success is here, but like, what are all the other conditions that are just going to allow that to happen? So what are the rituals, right? What are the routines? What is the identity that we're embodying as a real estate investor? Are we acting as if we are already financially free? Are we living in that identity, or as you said earlier, that abundance? So powerful, so powerful. You get what you believe. These are all quotes from you. I'm just rehashing them. But that identity, that vision, and then are you taking care of the relationships that will then just allow success to just happen? Mm-hmm. Is that a fair statement in your experience with high performance coaching? Or
well, look at it like, what's preventing happiness, what's preventing fulfillment. And most people, my experience, again, coaching thousands, I love what Tony says, there's only so many patterns people have, would be relationships, right? Like, if you have a toxic relationship, that's your standard. How you do one thing is how you do anything. So, I'm not a goal guy. Like, I think this teaching, like, I don't do New Year's resolutions. I would be like, hey, make a list of everything that's messing you up. Make a list of what drains your energy. Who do you need to cut out of your life? What shows you need to stop watching? What foods you need to stop eating? Like, you already know, like, it's not about like, it's flying lighter. It's like purging. It's like, get rid of the saboteurs, get rid of what is preventing you. And sometimes I think we live in a society of doing more.
Wow.
Less is more. And that's part of changing your environment, right? Like maybe, hey, listen, maybe you have a blessed intimate relationship. Maybe you're not even in the intimate relationship, but do you have some friends that when you see their messages that something happens where, I've been on Zoom calls and Zoom trainings. I know you have as well. And my phone, like, I just look down and someone's calling and I just turn the phone upside down. Like, it's that bad that it's such a distraction in a bad way. I'm like, I gotta turn it upside down because I'm like, okay, like, I'll deal with that later, right? Well, shame on me. Like, what am I doing you get what you tolerate? I'm tolerating this person or whatever it is in my life. That's one of my, could be potentially holding me back. So you want to make sure that your whole ecosystem and even mentors, right? Like, a lot of people will say, okay, I'm going to get a mentor. I'm going to get mastermind. We're doing a podcast. I'm going to listen to a podcast. I'm going to listen to an audiobook. And meanwhile, they're in this unhealthy, toxic relationship or friendship, or it's like, well, like, you're trying to force something, right? Going back to the analogy of the teacher, you're trying to force something. You're doing all this, but your environment's polluted.
That's right. You're eating an apple, but filling up on Pop-Tarts.
Yeah, exactly. Right.
Dang. Wow. So powerful, brother. This is going to help a lot of people. Thank you so much for sharing this. I'd like to throw this one last thing in here if we could. And that is one of the big things. Yeah, I'm just going to throw a scenario at you. Like, and I just want to get your gut, Steve Gill coaching. Just where would you go instantly with this? And I think I know where you would go, but I'm curious. And so I'm here, I'm coaching someone and I'm trying to get them to take action in this real estate space. But real estate right now, it was like really hot during COVID. And then like interest rates have risen. Home prices have not dropped. So like real estate's actually still some of the most expensive it's ever been in history, right? Actually, the most expensive it's ever been in history by dollar amounts, right? So you've got, hey, real estate's so expensive. Interest rates are so high. These are their reasons they're telling me. Where would you go instantly with coaching someone on or maybe coaching me on how to coach them on how to overcome some of these things? Maybe that's really what I'm asking.
Right. I mean, one of the teachings of mindset is somewhere along the line, you must, in life, there's a principle of being the 1%, going back to the teaching of 1%, you must see it better than it is. Because everyone else is stuck on seeing as it is. And if you're a follower, you're making it worse. You're making it worse than it is, and you're telling yourself a story, and you believe the story. So Tony says, change your story, change your narrative, and change your life. So somewhere along the lines, if you're listening to this, or brother, or who you're coaching and mentoring, you listen to the narrative, and then in a peak state, in an energized state, you must see it better than it is, and then you take the action from the place of seeing it better than it is, or you're taking action from a place of making it worse. You're behind on your action. So what's innovation? Innovation, that's why I love the minds of Elon Musk and Steve Jobs. Innovation is seeing it outside of the current situation. So as much as we got to stay in the here and now, I'm not saying put the blinders on. What is being strategic? it's being strategic, being a strategic innovator is you got to, and that's why not everyone, that's why not everyone's doing it. That's why not everyone gets that level of success. So it's an easy time to blow it up and make these gains and make these wins and set yourself up, because most people are drowning in watching the news. Most people are drowning, and the numbers tell a story. Yes, you can say the numbers of mortgage rates, interest rates, and the numbers in the economy. Yeah, those are facts. I get it. Numbers are facts. But what's the story behind it? What's the story you want to tell yourself about it? Nothing in life has any meaning except the meaning you give it. Choose an empowering meaning. The choice is yours. The numbers are there anyways. You have one person that's looking at the numbers, looking at the economy, looking at the facts and the data, and they're suffering over it. You have another person that sees it, that's getting excited, that sees an opportunity.
Wow.
Who's going to be successful?
Dude, so good. I just rewinding to kind of this last, just to wrap this up. I really want the listeners to take this away. I mean, and what you said, I feel like I brushed over it maybe a little too quickly I'm rewinding a little bit now, but just creating that cut list of what you said, less is more, creating the cut list. What's holding me back and what do I have to get rid of? So powerful. And then just what you shared of, okay, there's facts, and then there's all the stories that go around it. So someone's story could be in that scenario I gave you. Well, this is why I can't invest in real estate right now. And literally my story is, this is why it's great to invest in real estate right now, because I'm not having to compete against so many people. And because I'm not having to compete, I can get into this little niche called co-living or shared housing. And like, it's going to be, I'm in a blue ocean because of that. So I have those stories that are around that do empower me and get me to take action every day. Whereas someone else I'm talking with might not have that. Dude, so good. Man, if someone wants to connect with you, or I know you do business coaching, how do they get in touch with you? How do they coach you or coach with you and get your wisdom on them and their team?
Yeah, absolutely. I'd love to serve. And listen, brother, congratulations to you and your level of success and fulfillment. Absolutely, brother. And for you to give back what you've earned and learned and what you're practicing, Sam, you are a product of the product, and you're giving back and you're serving others. So God bless you in your journey and your family.
Thank you so much.
Way to get a hold of me for sure on Instagram, SG Results Coach. Or you can email me directly at steve.gill, that's Gill, at tonyrobbins.com. I would love to connect with you and see where you're at and what you inspired and got inspired from this podcast.
Dude, awesome. Yeah, and we'll link all of that to the show notes as well. So they'll have that right there. Brother, this has been a pleasure. Thank you. Thank you for your impact on the world. Thank you for your impact in Tony Robbins' organization. Thank you for your personal impact on me. In my relationship with Rachel and in my mindset, man, and in my identity. I really appreciate it. And you've made a huge difference in my life. And it's just, it's an honor to kind of let people have a window into what I've gotten to get for the last 2.5 years, brother. It's been awesome. And looking forward to many more.
Blessings to you, brother. I mean, in my humility in that is that we've grown together. You know, we're never in the same place. So it's been an honor to walk with you on this journey, and we're only scratching the surface, man. Let's go.
Let's go. Well, what do you think? I told you that episode was like literal fire back and forth. Steve is just an amazing influence. He's out there. He's serving people. He's serving the world. Please share this with someone that you think would benefit, and we'll see you guys back for another episode.